Hey everybody, Braden here. Welcome back to the fourth game of my last tournament of 2018. This is a game that I'm playing with the black pieces against Ayush, and this was an aggravating one. Let me tell you. So this is a King's Indian, as you guys know. That's pretty much all I play. And I play e5, knight c6, knight e7, and we get a mainline King's Indian with knight e1. And let's talk about the ideas a little bit. So f5 is normal, f3, f4, bishop f2. So their big idea here is they're going to go for c5 and try to kill me on the queen side. I'm going to go for the king side, trying to kill them on the king side. And that usually involves g5, g4 here. So I played g5, a4, sorry, and I played h5. Now my next moves are going to be things like knight f6, rook f7, bishop f8, rook g7. Let's just say they shuffle, do nothing, which is really stupid. This is like a ideal setup here, something like this, where now the rook is directly helping g4, and this is a overwhelming attack already, and I believe white is just lost because they just wasted so much time. Maybe not. Maybe not. Maybe c5 and they hold on, or maybe, you know, maybe they still have enough, but generally these things are, you're very happy to play into those positions where your rook's on g7 and everything's well placed and they haven't even played c5. Okay, regardless, that's a dream, fairy tale. A5, knight to f6, c5, knight g6, c takes, knight b5, a6, and bishop to b6. I think nowadays I would be more likely to just play rook f7 and just ignore the a pawn here, and just play something like bishop d7, because you just argue that they do waste time, and they do waste time trying to take that a pawn and then reroute in order to make use of the b6 square. But playing a6 kind of plays into their hand a little bit with bishop b6 and knight c7. So that's never fun. I played rook b8 here, and I honestly was expecting some bishop a7, at least a move later, rook c1, bishop d7. Oh, maybe I'm mistaken. My apologies. I was expecting that. I think in this game at some point, luckily there was queen takes c7, so it wasn't quite possible yet. And now their chances are significantly reduced because I can just move. But that's generally an idea. There's sometimes this sacrifice, as long as the rook's already on c1 here. But board vision, make sure you know that the rook isn't there. I think this might actually still work, funnily enough, after queen takes, rook c1. It's hard to see where exactly my queen goes, where it defends, as in it doesn't. I could probably end up taking the a5 pawn. I just don't know if it's something I want to do, because I still feel like I'd want to go on the attack on the king side here. But maybe the option here is to take the pawn, and after bishop takes b8, yeah, honestly this is just lost the more I think of it. So I think bishop a7 did work and was completely winning, but you have to see the idea of rook c1, which is honestly pretty hard to see. That's why my opponent played rook c1 first. So my intuition was right. Bishop d7, knight to d3, and now I play g4, just going for them. The whole point is if they take, obviously I'm just gonna happily take back, and now e4 is weak, f3 could come. Black has gotten everything they wanted, and they're doing well. Let's just say that. But my opponent played knight c5 here, which I think was a really interesting move. Because after knight c5, I can't really take it. If I were to take it, d6 comes. And after d6, my queen has to go to d8, which goes into discoveries directly. If queen f7, it's important to note that bishop c4 and bishop e6 is impossible, because the knight is just perfectly placed. So that would be unfortunate. And if d6, queen d8, first off, there's just knight takes a6 at the very least. Queen c8, and then knight takes. And yeah, this is honestly just hopeless after rook takes c5. Like, even though they sacrificed an exchange, they got a bunch of pawns for it, and they're actually up material here. So this would just be completely losing. So yeah, don't take that piece. I didn't. I played g3. They played knight 5 e6, which is a good looking move, trying to go for activity there. And I take on h2. So they ended up playing king h1 here. And I think the problem is if you take it, that there could always be threats of knight g4. I don't think it works here. But generally, you're a bit happier. Honestly, I would be really tempted to sacrifice the exchange in some way. I don't know if it quite works. But the knight on e6 is that annoying, where I'd be honestly willing to go into a position like this, regardless of its official evaluation. Just trying to argue that my pieces, or you got rid of one of your best pieces here. But I'll turn on the engine and see that it is lost. So don't mind me. But that's just kind of the issue with King's Indian is it's not a position I've ever been comfortable with. And we'll see that later on. I end up switching it out of my repertoire after this year. And maybe that will make people sad. Maybe it won't. Maybe people don't care. But yeah, my opponent played king to h1 here. I played h4, trying to go for h3. And also, it gives me the h5 square for my knight, because knight g3 check could always be really annoying. And I just give up the exchange here, which I do think, again, is just like the practical best choice. I end up taking with the bishop to give my queen the 7th rank here. I'm honestly proud of the move. Maybe a lot of people will scoff at me and be like, oh, it's losing or something. As far as I can tell, it's the thing that gave me chances to actually win the game. So we'll see that. Knight e6, I end up taking that because that knight is just really annoying, and I don't really see another move, unfortunately. D takes e6, knight to h5, and as I said, my pieces are coming for the king. I think bishop f2 is interesting. The whole point is it's kind of like a one mover where it's like, oh, okay, yeah, knight g3 check, yeah, I get to play it and win the dark squares. But the truth is there's no attack anymore, unfortunately. There's not really a way to get at that king anymore. The only thing I can see is like some crazy trick of like getting the king to h3 with it's just not possible. It's just not possible. We're down material, and their king is completely safe, believe it or not, and this is just completely lost. So of course I didn't do that, and they didn't even play bishop f2, which I think was an interesting try though. They played rook e1 instead. I played queen g5, bishop to f2 finally, and bishop to e7 to just cover the pawn. They played a bishop to f1, and I played king h8 because there's only one piece that's not playing a role in the attack, so let's make it play a role. Rook e2, rook g8, and bishop to e1 here. And I think I had an interesting option here, if I'm not wrong. I'm pretty sure black is close to winning, despite the position just being a complete mess. And I played it. I played h3. And it's actually really hard for white to defend this properly, but at the same time, it's something that I didn't even get an edge from, because I end up misplaying it anyways later. So after h3 here, rook c to c2, and knight h4, bringing another piece into the attack. So the problem is they can never take because, you know, mate, the game's over. So they just bring as many pieces to the defense as they can on the second rank there. And here, I end up playing a funny move, king h7, which supposedly is perfectly fine, but d5 is best. And the reason's very, very specific, but it has to do mainly with getting the c5 square, but we'll get to that. So d5, e takes d5, and actually now knight f5 in this position. is completely winning. So the bishop c5 actually might be in a specific, like a different area after the rook's off of the c file. My apologies. But after this, now both knights are threatening to come to g3. And I'll get the dark squares and there won't be a pawn there. And that's a big deal, especially if I can like take with check and open the position up, even though I'm down in exchange here. But I play king h7 instead, which I honestly don't hate. But after rook c to d2, I play king h6, which also I don't hate. I think this is the right approach. My idea was if we start trading things off, I want my king more active and kind of to use it as an attacking piece. And we'll see why this favored and didn't favor me later. But right now, honestly, I don't hate my position. They end up taking on h2. And now the idea of d5 comes into full effect, where instead of going for the f5 square, it's going for the c5 square. So let's see how that works out. D5, e takes d5. We have to see what happens if they take. If they don't take, then bishop c5 anyways, I believe. Ooh, bishop c5 anyways. Like if they just play king h1, I'm sure just like bishop c5. Or even d takes e4 and then that f5 might even just be better. Just because there's not really a choice other than taking, right? But yeah, d5. E takes d5, and then bishop c5 here, I think is one of the more clear-cut ways to win. And it's saying rook takes e5 is like best, but let's just ignore that. b4, bishop to e3. And eventually, I believe our threat is knight f3 check. Knight takes f3. And this is really hard to avoid. Oh, and anyways, okay. Not important. So knight g3 was played in the game. I know that these d5 sacrifices are honestly kind of common though. I just wanted to quickly mention that. Sometimes you go d5, e4 and just try to rip everything open. It's like if you don't mate, then you're lost anyways. So might as well just throw the kitchen sink at them and try to open up more lines. But I played knight g3, bishop takes g3, queen takes g3 check, king h1. And again, this d5 I think is actually even stronger here, and this is what I was thinking about because I remember analyzing this a while ago. And the whole point of d5 here is, again, let's just say pawn takes, and now bishop c5. If they try anything like attacking the pawn, let's say like queen, or attacking the bishop, let's just say queen c4. Now knight takes f3 is possible, and you can't stop mate. Or if rook to c2 here, to keep the f3 square covered. Now it doesn't even matter. You take on g2. If bishop takes g2, you can take with the knight, and there's actually still, funnily enough, going to be a mate here. Rook takes g2, and now queen h3, rook h2, and rook g1 will be checkmate. So there's actually a lot of mates being threatened now, because all of my pieces are perfectly placed. Unfortunately, I didn't see it. I played rook g5 here, which does maintain threats, and it's actually still fine. Because now this d5 thing, or taking on g2, I can play rook h5. But d5 was just a really interesting try there that I would be more likely to play nowadays. Maybe I wouldn't, who knows, because I don't play the King's Indian as much, but this is just passing thoughts on the game anyways. Rook f2. I end up taking on g2, and this is actually just a huge mistake. Instead, I need to go for this d5 move. This is just screaming to be played in almost every position. I've practically mentioned it. And again, if they take it, then this bishop c5 move comes, and either we're just taking the rook, and we're really happy about that, followed by taking on g2, or if they move the rook or something like this. Now it's saying rook h5 or taking on g2, both lead to a forced mate. Let's say bishop takes g2. If rook takes g2, then queen h3 followed by rook g1 will be mate. And if bishop takes, then rook h5 followed by knight takes f3 is just unstoppable. Let's say rook c2. Now knight takes g2 is checkmate in 1, so that's even better. Yeah, so that's a lot of stuff to look at, and it's kind of hard to see this d5 honestly. So I don't hate myself too much. I do hate myself for missing any move that was winning, but again, just to think back on the game, giving the exchange sack I think was still the best practical choice, as we can see how things turned out, whether or not it was losing, which it was. But after h takes g2, rook takes g2, knight takes g2. The problem here is I don't have queen h3. I did have this option when the bishop was on c5 because rook g1 would be checkmate. But after queen h3 here, I'm losing because of rook h2 and it's pinned to my king. Originally, it didn't matter because rook g1 was mate, but now it matters big time. So I ended up playing queen e1. They took on g5, I took back. They played queen e2, going for a draw. And stupid me, stupid me, didn't go for it. I played queen takes a5. It's still a draw. Queen g2, king f6, but it's much harder. Here, king f6 is a blunder. I need to find king h6. But after king f6, I'm losing. After queen g8, I just lose my dark square bishop. If I even try to cover it, it doesn't actually matter. Queen f7 check, king g5, now queen g7, and they eventually bring their bishop in with decisive effect here. They're just mating me because my pieces are just not near my king. So I believe after queen to g8, I end up just resigning because I'm losing the piece, and I went from a obviously really bad position in the opening to, which is normal for the King's Indian honestly, to a completely winning attack, and then give it up for equality, and in a completely equal position I just go berserk and just lose my mind here and go for a pawn that I just didn't need to go for. If I just trade, I just don't see any possibility of them winning. Like king f6, if they try to defend, I just go like bishop d8, and these pawns are gonna fall. Like if this pawn falls, then the game's immediately draw, like takes. And if they take here, I don't even care. I take here, take there, and like bishop to b4 or something, and then I can just bring my king to like c5, and then it's just a draw. I just shuffle my bishop. Very, very easy draw. I'm just going to show that on the board. There you go. Like no way to stop the draw. Like bishop c4, bishop b4, blah blah blah. Just repetition at this point. I don't even care about going for more here. So yeah, I didn't do that, and I paid the price hugely. I think that's one thing that I've improved on over the my big break of chess, because I took about a 2 to 3 year break, is that I stopped going berserk or crazy in these types of positions that are just completely equal, where I shouldn't be going crazy. And I've been okay with going into draws. But there is something we'll get to later on, which we'll discuss, and I think a problem came where I was later on going for draws a bit too much, even in better positions, which is not good. So that is something that I had worked on this year, but we're going to get to that later. This is the second last game of this year for 2018. We have one more game to cover, and that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you then. Bye-bye.